What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Cork to Glory. This is episode number 48. And we start today's episode off by seeing a draw for the FA Cup 5th round. We're in the last 16. We'll be taking on, as I just found out here after the simulation, Chelsea at home at Turner's Cross in the last 16. I mean, look, you knew it was going to happen, right? 3 of the past 4 years we've reached the last 16. And who have we faced? First time, Spurs. Second time, Liverpool. Third time, Chelsea. Yeah, of course it was going to be a Big Six team. We can't avoid the Big Six teams in the last 16. If we get there next year, it'll be Man City. Like, you just know it's going to happen. So, yeah, Chelsea at home last 16. You'll be seeing a tie today. I mean, look, you know, we stood up to them in match day 2 in the Premier League and we got a draw courtesy of a late Troy Parrott equaliser. Speaking of which, he's returning to training and will be playing in the second game of today's episode. And guess who he's playing, of course, in his comeback game, Spurs away from home. But yeah, it's obviously going to be very difficult to overcome Thomas Tuchel's side. I'll do my best, but we know it's going to be very tough indeed. So yeah, for the first game of today's episode here, Manchester United away at Old Trafford, and talk about standing up to the big boys. Early on into this game, Gavin Bazunu makes a really important save and then a crucial block seconds afterwards, and then we go up the other end on a counter attack and Samuel Belbel gets 2 bites of the cherry and gobbles it up at the second time of asking. Belbel with the goal. That's his 3rd in 2 in the Premier League and 5th in 3 in all competitions as he fires us into a shock lead at Old Trafford. But just like against Arsenal, and I mentioned it in the very last episode, holding on to leads in FIFA is very difficult this year, and with 2 minutes to go, clinging on to our first big scalp of the series. Kunje heads in a corner and Manchester United find the leveller. Yeah, very frustrated indeed. I thought I was like seconds away from claiming my first big scalp of the series. I swear, man, I was like shaking the bloody controller towards the end of the game there. Sadly, couldn't hold on to the victory. A point though is a very good result. We picked up points at the Etihad, at Old Trafford, against Chelsea and Spurs at home. We've done very well this season against the big teams in our first year in the Premier League. For the second game of today's episode, we would indeed take on Spurs here at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Troy Parrott would return, but unfortunately couldn't really get in much service, and in a game with very few chances, once again defended quite well. 4 minutes to go in the first half, still tied at 0-0. Harry Kane would fire in the only goal of the game. That was like the only clear-cut chance of the game as well. Defended really well in that one, sadly just couldn't hold on to what would have been a very good point, and back-to-back draws as well. And as you look at the league table, as we end February, a very quiet month of February, as you can see, we're up to 14th place. Yes, we've risen a place in the table, 14th place now, 11 games to go, and we're 11 points clear of Brighton still in 18th place. So yeah, destiny is firmly in our own hands, and I'd probably say now, the 11 points would be enough for us to hit the target, which would keep us in the Premier League. For Brentford and Birmingham, they've got a long way to go to pull themselves out of the hole with not many games remaining. So really, I feel the only realistic threat to our survival is probably Graham Potter's Brighton, and they've got the ability to stay up, there's no doubt about that. But I'm starting to feel confident. Yes, we lost that game to Spurs there, but again, we picked some good points against the big boys. So long as we beat the teams around us, I feel we'll be okay. I feel we'll be totally fine. Still, regardless, as you can see, finally I decided to do it. I know I've been saying it for the past few days. At some point, he get a pro deal. He finally does. And Aurélien Roux, the lad from France, yep, he looks just as good as we all thought he would. 71 overall, I'm going to change him to a right winger. He is a left-footed player, so he could be a competition for Tommy Healy on that right wing role as an inside forward. But he does have the potential to be special. It'll only take him 2 weeks to get that position. Yeah, very excited about him, as we have been since we saw him in the academy. Finally gets a pro deal today, and he does look very impressive indeed. So for the third game of today's episode, as we would begin March, we would take on the side that are rooted to the bottom of the Premier League table right now, Brentford at Turner's Cross. So heading into the game, I thought this should be a banker. This should be a pretty easy win with Chelsea in midweek in the FA Cup and a chance to get some confidence. But of course, in FIFA, it's not always that way. It's not always the case. And taking on the Bees, winless all season long, they took a shock lead 66 minutes in. And whilst we would respond 9 minutes later, I was just feeling incredibly nervous throughout the entire game because the pressure was massive. Against the big boys, I'm not really feeling the pressure because no one expects us to win anyway. But with 3 minutes to go, still tied at 1-1, a piece of shocking defending from yours truly, and that's not the first time I've said that throughout the course of this season and this series, allows Bosnick to run through 1-on-1. And Brentford come to Turner's Cross and pick up their first win of the season. Yeah, my face was redder than a tomato. I mean, seriously, not a single win in 27 attempts. They get it right at the 28th, but it's at our expense. I couldn't believe it. I mean, seriously, I thought, yeah, this is a banker. I don't even need to really concentrate. Lost the game 2-1 to the side rooted to the bottom of the table and certs to go down. Oh my word. I mean, how was I going to beat Chelsea in the FA Cup last 16 midweek if we couldn't beat Brentford at home in the Premier League? Well, the answer was we probably didn't have much of a chance, and unfortunately after conceding very early on, Jonathan David, one of the stars of my QPR save, gets his second of the game after, to be fair, a bit of an unlucky goal there. Blocked the free kick very well with Ricochet, went straight back to Chelsea as the Blues get the win, and for the third time in 4 years we reach the last 16 but go no further. Yes, it is a hurdle that we just can't overcome. We just can't do it. We just can't get to the last stage. I mean, we've been unlucky with the cup draws, don't get me wrong, facing a big six team for all of those 3 times. But yeah, so frustrating, man. Once again, knocked out of the last 16, and that really was a miserable few days there. Losing to Brentford and becoming the first team to lose to them all season long, and then getting knocked out of the FA Cup in familiar fashion to Chelsea. So I thought, do you know what? It's the weekend. I need to respond, man. I need to return to winning ways. We haven't won a game in our last 5 in all competitions. We need to return to winning ways. Here, taking on David Moyes' West Ham. We take the lead early. Troy Parra getting his first goal since returning from injury, but the Hammers would find their leveller right before the break. 20 minutes after the restart, still tied at 1-1. Not settling for the point, but looking for all 3. This guy's come alive recently, hasn't he? Luke Byrne, with his 3rd goal in just a few weeks, as he continues his really impressive patch of form. I've given him a lot of game time this season alongside Rory Keane, and despite the low overall, we know he's an exciting prospect with high potential, and he's certainly showing it. So 3rd goal in recent weeks for Luke Byrne as we get ourselves back in front. Our 12 minutes to go in the game, still up by 1, looking for that 2-goal cushion, which you know I need with my poor defending. Great assist from Eamon Cunningham. What a great stop with the fake Rabona. What a perfectly weighted through ball. And who's there to turn it in at the back stick and ensure we'd return to winning ways? So good, they named him twice. The kid from Cameroon, Samuel Bell, gives us our first victory since January. And so for the penultimate game of today's episode, travelling away to the league leaders Liverpool at Anfield, aiming to get back-to-back victories and claim our first big scalp of this series, facing Jurgen Klopp's side here, who, by the way, can I just say, why was there speculation, like at least there was before the RB Leipzig game, that this could be his last season and he's under pressure? Are you kidding me? Like, come on, be real now. That's just silly. You know, Klopp has the full backing of Liverpool fans, board and players alike. Come on now. The speculation I was reading on social media was just ridiculous. But anyway, taking on Liverpool against one of the best managers in the world, Jurgen Klopp, and one of the best teams on the league leaders in the Premier League right now. We've got a really credible 0-0 draw, and I mentioned it earlier in the episode. We've stood up to the big boys so well this season and claimed some really good points against them. We got a draw at Anfield, the Etihad, Old Trafford. We drew against Chelsea and Spurs at home as well. I knew the first scout was going to come at some point. It didn't happen there, but some great saves by Bazunu did ensure we would get ourselves a very credible point. And for our final game of today's episode, Chelsea away in West London at Stamford Bridge. Once again, Bazunu makes a really good save early as it's still 0-0 and keeps us deadlocked. And just a few minutes later, a chance for us on the counter to get in front. Great ball by Cunningham, quick pass across by Luke Byrne, and Samuel Bell really starting to show the form he showed all throughout last season in the Championship. Gets the goal to put us in front, and after playing some lockdown defence in the second half. There it is, guys. There it is, our first scalp of the series, and it just had to be Chelsea. After they dumped us out of the last 16 in the FA Cup, I wanted revenge on Thomas Tuchel, and we get it as well. Wanted the final score. Great shutout. Back-to-back clean sheets at Anfield and Stamford Bridge. That is mightily impressive as we pick up our first big scalp of the series, and that win there, 4 points, and I should say 7 points picked up for a possible 9 in our last 3 games. I think now, after a little mini patch of form, we should be safe. You'll see the league table in just a moment's time. We've extended the gap in points on us and the bottom 3 right now. I think we're going to be okay. I don't want to jinx it, I don't want to tempt fate, but I think we're going to be okay. So the final thing you'll see today is a scouting update and an academy update as well. As you can see, I did decide to promote Tobin, who was about to terminate his contract. He looks really good as well. 82 to 88 potential and already 59 overall as a centre forward. Don't play with centre forwards, but possibly as a winger or an attacker midfielder. Maybe a striker one day, who knows, it could be alright. And also here is the brief league table as well, as I released that player from our academy as well, because we've got too many players in our youth system and our senior team now, as you can see. Despite the draw against Liverpool, they still lead the way, 1 point clear of Man City, though they do have the game in hand. But at the other end of the table, which is of course more important for us, we've risen to 13th place. We're now 38 points on the board, and we're now 16 points clear of Brighton. And whilst they do have the game in hand, I think there's a big gap there, which means we should be okay with 7 games to go. But that won't this episode of Cork to Glory, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Cork to Glory later on tonight. It's the weekend. Of course you're going to see it later on tonight. Much love, guys. I'll see you for it later.